going to gauge reactions. Our hair being very different, like being locked. People are like, how the hell does your hair do that, right? And if your hair is bone straight and you've never seen or experienced anything like that, of course you are like, can I touch it? Is it
Right.
real? So I look at it as like more of a privilege that I'm able to be seen in these different places, and it shows that I am getting outside of my own comfort zone where some of these people have never ever traveled.
All right. Hey, welcome to Travel Tuesday Happy Hour, where we interview dope people doing dope things from around the world. And today we have a beautiful guest. Tell us who you are and what do you do?
Hey everyone, I am Jazzie Moss, and I am many things. I'm a stand-up comedian, a MC, a holistic transformation coach, the owner of Black Digital Nomad, where I empower melanated folks to live bravely, boldly, fully, and freely abroad. So basically, I help people who want to escape America and live elsewhere.
Okay. And so um tell us, like, how did you come across having so many hats?
Well, I'm a Gemini, so I think I was really born into it. But just having different passions and not really doing jobs well, like I get fired from jobs a lot, but it's because when I'm not passionate about things, my attention goes elsewhere. But stand-up's always been something. I'm always loved performing, so I also do acting. And yeah, people on Snapchat said I was funny, so I started doing comedy. And as far as Black Digital Nomad, um, I run that because I think representation is really important. And when I wanted to leave America years ago, I left in 2017. I didn't see a lot of resources for Black people. And even when you look up digital nomad, it was like the typical bromad, like the tall white males. And I think it's important for people to know that we out here too, and that you can start a business, live remotely, and gain location independence.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really what this is about, right? Is not to your extent, but to the extent of showing others that this is we all do this. You know what I mean? And it is possible if it is within our wheelhouse to really travel the world and have impact. So, what was really your first travel experience that you can think back to that led you to be like, I got this bug forever?
Well, I mean, I was a domestic traveler. I was turning up Miami, and I was,
I mean, that is travel too. I mean, some of us got our starts back
yeah, I was like
what you
Haiti,
got?
like,
Atlanta, we got Miami, we got LA, we got San Francisco. So, I mean, let's not sleep on the sleeper cell
you're right.
travelers.
You're right. Travel is travel. And I think that travel comes with a mindset of just not realizing you're not a tree and that, we can move around. But I've always been fascinated by travel. I remember as a little girl, there was an my uncle's wife or someone, and they were talking about her going to Japan and all these other places. And I remember just listening, like, wow, that's amazing. Like, that's something I would love to do as an adult. Um, but it really wasn't until I lost my freedom. I did some 15 weekends in jail, 60 days house arrest, and 5 years probation. And during that time, when my freedom was robbed of me, or I lost my freedom, I realized like how much I wanted to do, and actually that I could not do it. And I think a lot of us create mental prisons, but when you really can't do something legally, it's different. And so
Mm.
I had gotten my passport. I was dating someone. We were going to meet up in Dubai and go to Thailand and have all these lavish dates. But my probation officer was like, nah, you can go to Mexico for like a wedding or something, for a few days, but like you're not leaving the continent. And that day, I remember like my heart sinking in my chest, and I was like, you know what, or my stomach, and I was like, when I get off probation, I'm going anywhere I fucking want to go. Like no one's gonna stop me. And yeah, I when I got off probation and I could travel, I went to Jamaica with my husband for our first anniversary, and even that, like, I had to kind of push him to take the trip because he was worried about taking time off of work and being fired or getting in trouble. And I'm like, yo, like, you work every day. Let's take this vacation. My aunt is a world traveler, and she was always like, listen, even if you have to just save $1 a day or just put something away, do it. Like, always prioritize travel because those are experiences that are priceless. Um, and so with that, I was like, we're going to do this. And the day that we got back to Houston, no, or we were somewhere. I know we were still in the airport, and we looked up, and it was, the when you're getting your bags, the little ferry
Right.
thing around, and
Right.
it said Mexico on the screen. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I want to go to Mexico next." And I was like, "Yeah, you have the bug now. Like, let's do." So that was just the beginning of it, and then it turns out, about a year and a half later, we moved to Mexico. So it came full circle with just, exploring different things. Now there are things we didn't really like about Jamaica, just because we stayed in a resort, and we're like,
Mm.
okay, I don't think this is really like our travel
Experience.
style, especially, yeah. And it was like everything's white, was all these other black people, of course, serving us and stuff, and it kind of felt almost plantationist, after a while.
I
um
mean, depending on where you stay, I mean, I love the Ryu, but once again, they hire local, right? So
yeah, yeah, so it just
it's
felt
one of
kind
those
of,
things where, yeah, it's different from staying, at a mom and pop hotel in Montego Bay, and it's somebody's grandma that's cooking you breakfast every day
yeah,
versus
yeah.
a uniformed employee coming in and
Yeah,
taking care of you.
it felt a little slavish to me. But we had a good time, but it was still like, okay, after a while you get kind of bored staying on the resort. And I was like, I think my travel style is a little different, where I want to connect more with the culture.
Hmm.
Um and I think that's what I love about being an expat, because I'm here for so long that, you have local friends, and you see the way the world changes throughout the year, and there are different holidays and foods and different things. So but it was great. I loved it, and we got out of the country, and I think it was just that nudge. I was
Right.
finally able to use my passport. He had gotten his first passport, um and now we're on our second passport.
There you go. Travel goals
Yeah,
right there. Travel
yeah, it's
goals.
amazing. It just starts with doing it, I think. And the reason why we left America was because of just the state of the world there, and my husband not feeling respected as a black man there, feeling uncomfortable. And he just came home one day and was like, "Hey, like, I'm tired of these MFs at work, not respecting me. They're like pushing my trade." And yeah, I was just like, all right, 15 minutes in, I was like, I'm game, I'm off probation, I can go. So what's up,
Okay.
And about 63 days later, we left and moved to Mexico. So
Nice, nice. So I want to go to Jamaica. I know it wasn't the expected like experience, but like let's talk about leading up to, right? There's like anxiety, there's excitement, there's all of that. How was that building up for you guys? Because I know a lot of people they remember the first time they got their passport, got on a plane. So what was that experience like for you?
it was exciting. I'm a researcher. I'm the one who planned trips. And so I guess the hardest part was picking which resort, because when it
Hmm.
comes to that, and I'm a foodie. So it's like, okay, who has the best food? Of course, watching YouTube videos and people's experiences on them. Um, but also remembering that, like, everyone's very different, and so you have to take your own. Because I
Right.
remember the place I booked had like this video, and the girls were talking about how bad it was and how they hated the food. And I almost changed it, but I was like, no, I'm feeling like this is going to be a good one. And I really enjoyed the food. I enjoyed the resort. So it wasn't a total bust. I didn't hate
Okay.
Jamaica. It was just I realized my travel style there. But yeah, leading up to it was really exciting for me. Um, just
I
trying to
mean,
figure
you got the
out.
shackles off. You was ready to like, woo, I'm free.
Yeah, I'm free, right? So yeah, it was a good time. I do remember, making packing snacks and stuff for the flight, and um, us going and recording videos of it. But of course, it was. I think we flew Southwest, so it wasn't really like a different experience compared to when we first came to Asia. Um,
Gotcha.
because that flight is 14 hours, 15
Yeah,
hours.
I was gonna ask you about that because like from Mexico to now being in Asia, how I mean, were there other places in between, or did you guys just decided we're gonna go from hot to hot, or we're just gonna go to from
Yeah,
Mexico?
I wanted to go to Bali. I don't know what happened. It just kind of popped up in my mind. And like, you know how on Facebook you can write what's on your mind. And I just wrote
Mhm.
Bali with like a little circle or a little emoji. Um, and I think the next day my husband looked up flights and they were $300 run one way from LAX. And so we're like, oh, okay. We still had an apartment in Mexico. We decided to rent it out, Airbnb it. I don't know if that's legal, y'all. So do your research. But we did rent it out, and so we made a profit from the rental property because it was a beachfront. And with the long-term lease, we had a good rate, so we knew if we
Mhm.
rented it out month to month, we could get a profit on that. And so, yeah, we rented it out and paid through our rent in Bali with that profit. And
Nice.
stayed in Bali for 2 months in Ubud, and that's where I started my book, Probation to Passports. Um, and got a lot of writing done there. And I took chakra healing courses and did music videos and danced in the jungle. And that's when I realized, like, oh yeah, I love the performing arts. I did a music video for this independent artist, Edie Blue. And I was like, oh yeah, I like this. This is, and that's what recaptured the passion of mine to do performing arts again. So we went to
Okay.
Thailand after Bali. The internet wasn't that great in Ubud, and I've always wanted to go to Thailand. So yeah, we went to Thailand and lived in Chiang Mai for 9 months, almost 10 months, and that's when we were doing acting, different plays and stuff like that. Um, and then went on to Vietnam, where I've been here for two years next month.
Nice. I hear Vietnam is an underrated place to visit.
Vietnam,
I've had I had a guest come in. I think they were supposed to do Bali, Thailand, and for some reason she just randomly was like, "Yo, let's go to Vietnam," and she said Vietnam beat them all by far. And so I was like, "Oh, I gotta add Vietnam to the list."
Vietnam is absolutely beautiful. It is underrated, which is good. We can keep it that way.
I mean,
Um,
after this, who knows? As this podcast grows, you might see a whole bunch of us
no,
showing up in
it
Vietnam.
won't stay a secret forever. That's why I'm grateful that I'm able to be here now. But it's absolutely beautiful. Like, for example, I'm looking at the Santra Mountains now from my apartment. I have a
So
ocean.
that's a light flex for y'all that are listening. Go ahead. Uh huh.
Yeah, it's beautiful here, though. I live in Da Nang, where it's literally the mountains. I'm looking at the mountains, the sea, and then on the other side are more mountains with the city. There's 7 bridges here, so it's like a mix of Miami, with your city life. It reminds me of LA. It's a very beautiful place, and even if you go to, I went to Halong Bay, where you're on all these limestone. I took a cruise there. I'm going to Fuqua tomorrow or Thursday because we can actually travel here. They
Okay.
did a wonderful job containing the coronavirus. We sat
Yeah,
our
that's
ass.
the other thing I was gonna ask you. Like, how are you able to move around? But we skipping steps. We skipping steps.
Yes,
Let me
yes,
back
we'll
up
get
a
to
little
that. But yeah, Vietnam is absolutely a beautiful country. The people are amazing. They're so resilient and they're still very kind to Americans, surprisingly.
bit.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a
I
very
mean,
beautiful country.
they respect us because they know we weren't doing that, you know. So
Yeah, when they hear that you're from America, they still. Although I lie now, I say I'm from Jamaica because I don't want them to think I got the rump. But
listen. I speak Creole whenever I have to. So
yeah, like I say I'm Jamaican with my American accent and passport. But yeah, it's a really beautiful country that a lot of people overlook. And even I did. I never thought I would be here. People had recommended Vietnam to me once I got to Asia, and I was like, okay, like it's just not on my list. I'm good.
Mm.
But when I lived in Thailand, they have a burning season where they burn the crops and the air quality gets really bad. It goes from like, I don't know if you guys have that app, but it's tells you about the air quality and it's usually like maybe a 10 and it goes up to like 500. So it's really bad. It's like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Oh
And
wow.
to avoid that, I decided to leave. Also because of the visa situation in Thailand. I was like, let me get a bit of break. And I wanted to live on the beach because Chiang Mai doesn't have a beach. I love Chiang Mai, but it doesn't have a beach. And so I decided to come to Da Nang, Vietnam for 3 months. Wow. Burning season was going on, and I fell in love with it absolutely, and I've been here ever since. So
Nice, nice.
yeah,
So what keeps you traveling? Like what makes you want to say, all right, well, Vietnam is beautiful, but I still want to see the rest of the world.
yeah, because it's the rest of the world out there, right? Once you see something and you experience it, it's like, well, what else is there, you know? But staying present in the moment while I'm here and fully immersing myself here. But yeah, it's like the bug, you know. I guess it's like when people get one tattoo and then they end up with 29,000 of them. It's just like, you know, you fall in love with the culture and different places, and then with our community, the Black travel community or the Black expat community, you'll see people posting different places and you're like, oh, I want to check that out, that looks dope, you know, and you add it to your list. So yeah, just the experiences I've had so far have been so eye-opening and so transformational of my life. It's like, well, why not continue, you know?
Got
um
it.
yeah, I love it.
So so you mentioned expat community. Are you guys is there like a green book for expats, like where to go, or is it just you guys have like a Facebook group where you guys are like, hey, I'm going to mainland China, like where should I go?
Yeah, so both. You know, there's different sites like Black Digital Nomad or, you know, Blexit or whatever. But yeah, there's different, and we have a lot of groups as well, expat groups. Like I created one here for Black people that live in Da Nang. And we meet up weekly for Sunday brunch. We also did that in Chiang Mai. And so, yeah, with people sharing their different experiences or different opportunities, job openings, and things like that. Yeah, we're very connected, and that's in that way. So yeah, people just kind of hear about new places, and or we go based on visas a lot of times, like who has the best visa. Like Vietnam, when I got here, was offering a 1 year visa to Americans and only
Mm,
Americans. So
wow.
compared to Thailand, it was like, oh, definitely, let's get on that 1 year visa. So yeah, we move like that, and then of course the internet. You know, where's the best internet? If there's high, you know, a lot of us work online, so with fast speeds, we go based on that. Of course, the cost of living and the quality of life is another big factor in how expats choose where they're going next. Prior
Okay.
to Corona.
And and so earlier you had mentioned that your husband had felt some type of way of how we're just being treated here in the United States, right? Do you guys find it that you're treated better or indifferent once you guys started to move around the world?
Yeah, it was funny. Like in Mexico, they were calling him Tupac and me Rihanna, and I'm like, it must be the flavor, y'all. But
Well, they were
yeah,
calling me Snoop Dogg when I was out there last, so
yeah, they're
I'm
like, hi, you know, but I guess that's better than, you know, the N word or disrespect, you know, or wanting to take photos with us. And for me, being a performer, I just act like, you know, they've seen my Netflix special that'll be out when I get it, you know. Act like a local celebrity. And I take pictures with them. I don't know where they end up. I'm probably in all type of people's living room albums and shit, you know, but
you
it's like,
you on somebody's product cover and you just
right,
don't you
right.
ain't getting no royalties yet.
Throw me my coins. So, um, but I feel seen versus, you know, and admired because I feel like if you go to a museum and there's something that you like, you'll stare at it. You may want to take a photo of it. And if you repulsed by something, you look away. So yeah, the stares become overwhelming sometimes, but we have to remember that we are in these very small towns that we don't realize. Like just because people on YouTube are talking about it doesn't mean that this isn't a small town. And everyone looks very similar, in Asia, and Mexico. So we stand out. And then remembering that with when we come from America, it's like a melting pot. So I remember going to school with Persians and Korean kids, and I knew the difference between Japanese and even, I didn't call all the Hispanic kids Mexican because I know some of them are from El Salvador and, that
Right,
kind of
right,
thing. So when you have that type of exposure to different cultures, you may take it for granted, like not seeing Black people ever for the first time in your life, and they're literally walking down your street where you know everybody. So of course that is going to gauge reactions. Our hair being very different, like being locked. People are like, "How the hell does your hair do that?" Right? And if your hair is bone straight and you've never seen or experienced anything like that, of course you are like, "Can I touch it? Is it
right.
real?" So I look at it as like a more of a privilege that I'm able to be seen in these different places. And it shows that I am getting outside of my own comfort zone where some of these people have never ever traveled, abroad or left their counties or whatever. So yeah, it's interesting. But I think it's really important for us to like shed that American trauma because it's so easy to make everything feel like like make correlated with racism, and I don't think that's that. Like some people have been like, "Oh my God, they're touching your hair. That's racist," and it's like, okay, girl,
It's curiosity.
yeah, yeah. Look up the definition because that's not racism. Now, if they were throwing acid on me because I was Black or had locks, that would be different. But they're just really curious. So
That's cool.
that's it.
So,
But I feel
so
seen,
I'm at
I feel respected here.
okay. So I want to ask a follow-up question. So, when people do find out that you're American, what is that conversation like sometimes?
It just depends on the person and their mindset. Like some people are like, "Oh, but your skin," and I'm like, "Y'all know Obama? Like he's out here. Y'all didn't name dishes after him. That's my uncle. Stop playing." Or I tell them like, "Black people built America. Get a history book." But it's really there's so many lies in them. But yeah, and then some people are like, "Oh my God, American," and they'll try to charge you more because we're considered rich.
Right.
And I do feel like a millionaire here. It is, the cost of living is so affordable. And then I make US dollars. So your dollar goes a long way.
Mm.
But a lot of times they're just really excited. Or where are you from? And I say California. Oh, California. And I've also noticed a lot of Vietnamese have family that live in America,
Mhm.
particularly California and Texas. And so they're familiar with it. But yeah, they get pretty excited knowing that we're from America, which really surprised me, knowing about the war here, the
Oh wow.
Vietnamese
Yeah.
war, American
Yeah.
war.
Yeah. The big elephant in the room. Um, so so with that being said, have so where were you when Corona kind of became the pandemic of today?
Yeah, well, I was in Asia, and so we got word of it much sooner than you all because we were on the border of China. And so, actually, the first thing that I saw was a hotel saying like "no Chinese guests," and we're like, "Oh, what? That's crazy! You can't do that in America, But here they were not messing around, and I was really baffled by that. Like, damn, y'all really putting on the signs like outwritten signs like no Chinese guests, due to virus. And that was like the first thing. And this was in January. And then
Mm.
I took a flight to Saigon for a comedy show. And I read an article about it, but it just seemed like, wear a mask. And so I wore a mask on the flight. I wiped things down. I ended up getting pretty sick though. I don't know if I had it or what, but um,
You
yeah,
here today. That's all that matters.
I can usually take some pineapple and knock that shit out, but it was not going away. I had to go to the pharmacy out here. But yeah, that was in January, and they were in Wuhan. And actually, I had a friend who flew back from America to Vietnam and stopped in Wuhan. And we were like, "Oh, girl, don't come to the Super Bowl party." but it had been some time and she was all right. She wasn't
Mhm.
coughing or anything. But this was in the very beginning where I didn't even tell my mom yet because I didn't want her tripping out and saying, come on home. But yeah, and then we did a lockdown. We had a lockdown here in March or so where we couldn't travel or do anything. But we had no idea looking back then in January that it would be a
Mm.
worldwide pandemic. We were like, okay, we're on the border of China. It's going down there. We were watching it in China and how they were containing it. And also, I was a ESL teacher online, so a lot of my students were Chinese. So
Mhm.
I was just hearing their experiences, right? But it was a China thing. It wasn't worldwide at all yet. And then in March, when it hit, I was still in Vietnam, and my
Okay.
husband went to Bali at the time to go to a festival, do a artist festival. He's a visual artist, and he got locked out. They shut the borders, and so he's been out of Vietnam since then. It's
Oh
been
wow.
crazy. Um,
So what? He's been in Bali since
no,
March.
he was in Bali for a few months, and he left in June. Went to back to America. Now he's in Mexico, and so we'll reunite soon. But I'm here working and stuff. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
So that leads me to the next question is like how are you adjusting like you guys being together for so long to now having to you have your dog of course to keep you company but I mean you got the best deal of the situation, right? You got beautiful mountains, wonderful seas to look at, but hubby's not around. How are you
he's
adjusting with that?
to work on myself, to learn better skills. I feel like things happen and for our greater good all the time, so looking at this as a time to work on any issues that we've had and come together stronger when we do, but also realizing that for now it's best for me to stay in Vietnam because once I leave I can't get back in, and I'm actually able to do live comedy shows. I'm actually the host, and so as a new comic, pardon, um, it's like I'm in training, but I'm getting paid to do so. So I'm just like, okay, let me use this time to perfect my craft, and I'll leave and go to Mexico in a few months and reunite with him then because I don't think
Nice, nice.
we're going to open. But yeah, he's tried to get back in, but I mean, I guess I know worse stories, horror stories of people who've gotten pregnant and have been away from their mates and had a baby and things like that. So I'm like, oh, I ain't got no problems. Good.
And so you mentioned earlier that they pretty much had things locked down earlier. So what is the moving around today? Is mask, no mask, social distancing
Yeah,
still?
so we're like 90 to 3 months clear free from any new cases, and there was a case with someone, but they got him, they captured him, is what really they do out here. They take it really really serious. So today, as of today, I'll be going traveling Tuesday Thursday to go on vacation. I'm going to go, excuse me, to one of the islands here. And so, yeah, we have to wear a mask on the plane. But like if I go to the store, I don't have to wear a mask. Sometimes I will if it's like, I'm going to the local market where there's a lot of people. But, in Asia, wearing masks is already a thing. So it wasn't like a huge deal to them. No one is fighting for their freedom to not wear a mask.
Right.
They wear masks if they're sick already. And also because of the motorbikes that they are on, they like where I already had masks before this went down. So as of now, our restaurants are open. It looks like Corona never happened, honestly, except for the fact that you see some businesses that didn't survive.
Gotcha.
But it is because when we had the lockdown, it was serious. There was no one outside protesting. We had to stay in the house. We could not even get food delivered. So all these expats were online, like, how do I cook? And it's like learn survival skills. But the food is so cheap here that we typically eat out. So it was just no eating out, no going out, no gathering in groups. We stayed on. Well, I think we were on lockdown for like 2 months. So it
Mm,
got hard. It got very, very difficult. But when we look now, there's been no new cases. Our world here is back to normal. We're dying. We can do everything. I went to a Christmas party last night with 20 people. And that probably sounds crazy as hell to people, but again, we haven't had any new cases. Everyone here was tested. We had mandatory testing months ago. Um, yeah, so I mean, it works and it works. So everything's normal here again.
That's nice. That's good to have. I mean,
Yeah.
here people are refusing to wear masks so we can get to a normal. But our new normal is kick back at the crib with only people you trust. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so from there, now that you're moving around, that you're able to move around a little bit more, like what would be some of your tips that you would give people during this new norm of Corona, right? Like, what are some things you would tell people to look out for, not just out of safety, but to travel and enjoy travel?
Yeah. I just think do your research, I guess for me it is different because I'm just doing domestic travel right now, but then I'm just taking advantage of being able to explore Vietnam and parts that I probably wouldn't go to. But of course, I think wear masks, and it's so hard giving people tips on the road, like because people have their own beliefs, and it becomes such a
Well, yeah. So that's why I was saying, not necessarily just Corona, right? But like, if it wasn't, what would be your travel tips?
oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. For me, I find research is a thing, and find your travel style. Remember to stick to your travel style, um, but not, in a closed-minded way. But definitely get out there and explore things, see things that maybe people aren't talking about so much on Instagram. Um, I think there's like travel bubbles, and it's easy to like continue to go to where everywhere everyone else is going. Um, but yeah, maybe experience something different. Like Vietnam is a beautiful country. They're not letting nobody in as of now, but and I'm grateful for that. But when they do let people in, definitely travel to Vietnam. Um, yeah, I like to join expat groups because I guess I travel a little differently because I typically will live there if I do travel to a place and then like have a base for a minute and then travel around the country. But yeah, I don't know, just have an open mind and then don't really take that American experience with you everywhere, the American trauma. Like we are so good for packing that with us. And travel with beginner's mind as if you know nothing and so that you can have fully immerse yourself in new experiences. Um, but mainly leave the American trauma at home because I think it really has an effect on a lot of us as Black people traveling. And when things happen, we automatically assume that it's racism, and there is racism. I'm not saying that it's not, and that you'll escape it leaving America. But everything doesn't have to do with us being Black. And also, a lot of people respect us as Black people in different parts of the world. So experience that.
okay, okay. Are you taking in your superpower today?
Yeah, I was wondering. I'm like, where is it? Is it on this time zone? Because I know we're in the
I
future
think I
here.
think you missed it. You're in the future, so it's
It's
in
already
this time zone. Yeah, it already happened for you.
so I'm like, what is it? I don't
Well,
know.
you already got your superpower. You're a comedian, you're a performing artist,
Yeah,
you
right. I
run
feel
a
that
dope
right.
page. So the energy coming your way is only gonna expand your superpower just to the next level.
Right, right.
Um,
That's it. Right. Being able to live my life the way I do, I think, is my superpower. And being very comfortable in creating my own life because I know a lot of us allow society or our families to dictate our lives, and I've never made sense to people. But I found the lifestyle that works for me to where now it's like, oh, okay, girl, now I see, why why you move the way that you do. Um, and not that it needs to make sense to anybody, but it's like I've finally found my fit of be walking to the beat of my own drum and my upbringing with my family and being able to be away from them for long periods of time, and just the resiliency. And so yeah, life is lit. I'm really happy with like
nice.
I guess that's my superpower is living life on my own terms.
Nice, nice. So you mentioned earlier there's so much world to see. Do you still have a bucket list of places that you want to see?
Um, yeah, so I still want to. I was actually doing a 20 city tour with 20 shows in 20 cities for 2020 for comedy until the Rona happened. So I still definitely want to explore more parts of Southeast or of Asia. I didn't go to Korea yet, South Korea. Um, I'm not really sure if I want to go to China. I'll be feeling kind of like, oh, are they now?
So,
But
have you been to Singapore yet?
no, I haven't been to Singapore. I was gonna go, and I was like, that's the thing that's so crazy with life is like we're like, oh, I'm here. It's not going. We're so good to say it ain't going nowhere,
Going
but
nowhere
Rona
until
tells
it's
you
gone.
that yes, places are yeah, we'll go somewhere. But definitely Singapore, Korea, South Korea, Japan. There's like this. I think it's called Naruto. One of my students was telling me about this place in the middle of the ocean that has a whirlpool twice a day,
Hmm.
and so I would love to see that.
Oh wow, that's dope.
Um, yeah, Bali's already. I've done Bali, but I do want to go back to Bali. I feel like you can go over and over again,
So
and
so
I
let
want to
me ask you a
explore
question.
different
Quick.
styles.
So I want to ask a quick question. So for someone who hasn't been that far east, right? Once you're out there, is it easy to maneuver like Europe and Africa, or it gets difficult depending on where you're trying to go?
What do you mean, like just traveling, or?
Yeah. So like let's say I decide I want to go to Thailand, but then I want to go to Indonesia, then I want to go to Korea, South Korea, then I want to go to Singapore. Like Europe, you can probably catch a flight that's like 100 maybe 50 euros, 100 euros to go from one place to another. Is it that affordable and easy to
Yeah,
move around?
definitely. Yeah, I used to go to Thailand regularly for I think $80 round trip.
Okay.
Um, Japan maybe $200 because it's a little further, but like Indonesia is like $123 round trip. Yeah, so it is once you're in Asia and you want to travel throughout Asia. Like I went to Malaysia. I think tickets are cheap, like they're really affordable, and even
Nice.
traveling throughout Vietnam. Like I'm gonna go to Phuquat, um, and that is. I think my ticket was $60 because I bought it late, like the day before. It was
Oh
$40
wow.
round trip. Yeah, I go to the big cities for shows. Tickets are $40 round trip. And I don't think you can really move around even America like that for $40 round trip. So yeah, it's very easy to hit up country hop, which is why I've run out of pages. Being in Asia. It's yeah,
so
Laos, Myanmar.
you're the third guest that talked about teaching English while traveling to make money. How does one kind of get into something like that? Like let's say I decided all of a sudden, hey, I'm in Vietnam. Where can I get a teaching job? How do you get into that?
Yeah, so I don't do in live teaching because I'm really like I've gotten so used to owning my time and not having to go to work. So I haven't been teaching this year, but I was teaching online, and that's easy. And then go to my website. I have a blog post on the steps to do that, the teaching certification, where to get it, the different options that you have. Now, as far as in person, here it's like applying on Facebook is a big thing. Like they'll post in the expat groups, they need a teacher, you can apply for that. Um, so yeah, it's not as hard as it seems, but I will say this because I did just do a video on this yesterday that I'm editing, and it's Black people do have a harder time getting teaching jobs compared to white people because they do. Like my friend applied, and it was really unfortunate because they responded to her friend, her white friend. She was like, "Hey, they're not
Mm,
responding to me. Can you send the same message and see if they respond to you?" And they did. And she's like, "Okay, well, thank you for responding to me, but my friend applied. Can you guys reach out to her?" And they're like, "Who's your friend?" And she sent her profile, and they said, "Oh, yeah, we asked, and the parents would be scared of her." So there is that kind of ignorance here that happens
wow.
sometimes. And again, I haven't experienced it personally because I don't apply for teaching jobs in person. But yeah, it's really unfortunate that that's happened. But then this is also a beautiful woman who's opening a baked macaroni and cheese business here. So that's why I'm like, F these jobs, girl. Like, start a business. because those things do happen. And even with ageism, there's a thing. My friend's Filipino, beautiful woman, and they told her in Thailand, like, I'm sorry, but you're too old. And she's like 55. She looks very young, very fit, but
Mm,
not that even if she looked like a grandmother, like it shouldn't matter.
right,
But
right.
they do say those kind of things. And that's how I know it's from pure ignorance, because they'll tell you, like, oh no, you're old, you're too old, you know.
So like the friendly American social construct of say nice things doesn't necessarily exist.
No. Some of the it's so funny. I have a class I was teaching, and it's like a cartoon, and there's little bubbles, and the girl is saying like, "Oh, why are you putting on makeup?" And the girl says, "Oh, to be pretty." And it says, "Well, you still look ugly." And even like, and this is what the lesson that I'm teaching that I did not write. I'm like, who wrote this? Or they'll say, "Hey, ask the student, is your mom pretty or ugly? Is she fat or skinny?" And like, it's a thing to where they'll just say it, like, "Oh, my mommy's
Wow.
fat. Look," and I'm like, "Please, this is making me uncomfortable." But it's why, like, they'll tell you here, like, "Oh, you're fat," and they don't mean anything by it. They're just observing, you know.
Mm,
Yeah, so
okay.
it's very different, the culture, with that, us being, we're like, not, we're polite or nice in America.
Right,
Um,
right. That's what I was told in Europe. They were like, yeah, we don't do that American nice. I was like, wow, that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
But so you are probably the second performer I know that's gone to Asia and like did it or doing it.
yeah.
One guy I went to school with, um, he went to Japan, became this Japan superstar. Um, and is it? I don't want to say easier, but are they more open to different types of artists out in Asia, or is it just like it's an open lane for everybody to really kind of be out there and do well?
Yeah, I don't know. I sometimes I think about that because it's like, damn, if you would have told me, I'm from Los Angeles, where like stars are made, or people come to be stars. So I was always thinking like I would have to go back home to do these shows and different things, but I'm not sure if it's just like the opportunities, you take advantage of them, because the opportunities are back home as well. But for me, I can say that it was just like, well, girl, you out here anyway, so F it. Like, you might as well live it up. Like,
Right, right.
it takes so
Because
much
you're
from
talking about
out here.
a
Yeah, what do
20
I have to
city in
lose?
2020. How are you gonna do that back stateside?
Yeah, I was just going to book, like, go reach out to people. Once I do one show, it's easy to get booked for another show.
Right.
And the community is tight here. You hit somebody up, hey, I want to get on your show. They'll fly you out. So that was my goal. That was my plan. And then also hit up LA, like America, and finally do some shows out there. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's just about, if you like, I don't know. I've seen so many people do so many dope things out here, and it's just, I mean, it's not as many of us, so of course I stand out more as a Black woman doing comedy. um but there's people from all over the world doing it, so I don't even know how to answer that. I just think it's just, you want to do something, you put your mind to it and you can do it. And that's the thing someone told me when I first got to Asia, like, anything you want to do here, just do it. And there's the way that I manifest things on this side of the world are so quick too, and I think it comes from the amount of peace that I have here, to where I'm not so weighed down with like America's heaviness, and energy, to where like I'm not worried about surviving so much that I can actually thrive over here, because all my
Right.
time is not spent in traffic. It's not spent dealing with racism. It's not spent with expensive rent, like that kind
Mm.
of, like my rent is $340. So I mean, I could, like, I'm not, my cost of living is low. My quality of life is improved, and so of course that's going to trickle over into my life holistically. And so I
Right.
think it just flows, like when you're not having the stress of like surviving, there's civil rights that you can just flourish.
That's amazing. Look, you got me all jelly over here. So tell us what you got going on, what you got coming up. Where do you want people to find you?
Yeah, of course.
Um,
I'm doing an ebook that'll be out very soon, and it's on leaving America in 90 days or less. And that'll be out. But you can always go to my website, blackdigitalnomad.com, blackdigitalnomad.com, for free resources. I do videos on YouTube about living abroad. I share resources also on my Instagram and different stories. And that's Black Digital Nomad as well. Um, yeah, I'm always doing comedy shows out here. I'll be hosting a New Year's Eve party, and yeah, I'm just around, you know.
That's awesome. Well, this was a long time putting this together.
Yeah,
And so I really appreciate you taking out of your Tuesday morning to really make this happen. I'm very honored to be blessed by the Black Digital Nomad.
yes, thank you, Joy, for reaching out. We were on the phone the other day. She's like, "Hey, did
Yes,
you ever do that podcast?" And I was like, "I don't think he emailed me. Let me look now." And that's how I ended up messaging you back because she had asked me, and I realized I had dropped the ball. I didn't respond to the last message, and I was like, "Oh, that was my bad."
it's
But
all
yeah, I'm
good.
grateful that we're finally able to put this together. It was right on time, though. I do believe that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is my superpower now. So, I mean,
Yes, love it.
hopefully I get to manifest new things, but this has definitely been a great experience. I you dropped a bunch of jewels on people. And once again, I'm always thankful to people to jump on and really be open to talk about their experiences, because one of the things that I think we both, share is that we need to see more of ourselves, doing things that are outside of what we're put in the box for.
Yeah,
And being a Black expat and making it look good, making it look easy. You know what I mean? Um, and not just doing that, but sharing your knowledge, sharing your experiences, so other people don't have to go through some of the same pitfalls as you have. That's
right,
really big, because some of our greats said, we need to lift as we climb. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna do it and then not tell anybody.
right.
We can't always wait on the talented 10th to give us the support that we need. So people like you that are doing and teaching at the same time make this community so much stronger. So I really do want to appreciate you for that.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, and I'm here. Anyone, I also do consultations for people who want to move abroad. You can check out the website for that as well. And I do a master class that goes through the steps of
She
taking.
really is Jamaican. She does everything.
Well, I take no job, so I gotta, I gotta do my own thing.